Bam.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Lack of Thought podcast. My name is JD.
I'm Nate.
Hang on, I gotta go to your camera.
Oh, I'm Nate. And I'm back.
He's back. And I'm Mike, back here in the corner, running the buttons, trying to make this look semi-decent. Sorry if it doesn't. I don't care.
He has one job.
As you know, this is a podcast that we try to rope everyone else in. So if you're in the chat, say hello. And if you got something you want to talk about, say hello. But we're going to go ahead and get started with JD.
What you got there, JD?
So I got an article here that talks about how the Fed approves a new 75% point hike to take rates to highest in 2008 and hits at change in policy ahead. So what do you think about that the interest rates are now going up on top of inflation and gas prices and stuff like that?
It sounds like more of the same. You expected any different?
I mean,
drive the car, right? I mean, if you're going to crash the car, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what it feels like to me. But, I mean, how much does it have to hurt before people just say enough is enough, you know?
Well, I guess we'll see after the 8th, won't we?
Yeah, that's a good point, man. You know, a lot of people have been speculating for a red wave. I don't know. What do you guys think there in the chat? Do you think a red wave's going to happen? Do you think the same shit's going to happen for the next 2 years? Or what's up?
Interesting story on that. I got a phone call the other night, and it was a guy saying, "Hey, I'm from the Democratic Party, blah, blah, blah. I see you're an avid voter and this and that and the other. And I used to be a registered Democrat." And I was like, "Wait a minute, hold up. Did you say you're from the Democratic Party?" He's like, "Yeah, sir, I am." I was like, "All right, let me stop you there. Yes, I'm voting. You guys have lost me. I'm voting Republican, and I'm now registered Republican." And I hung up on him.
So, funny story about that, too, that I actually heard from the Joe Rogan podcast. He was there talking, and I forgot what her name was that was on the podcast there, but she was talking about how her dad or grandfather is a diehard Democrat. Every time he goes to the polling booth, he votes Democrat no matter what. And even they lost the boomers.
Yeah.
He is voting all red this year.
Yeah. I mean, you've had, like I've said it before, you've had your hands on the wheels for however long now, and you've driven us straight off the road. It's time to let somebody else drive.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely time for a change. How that change is going to affect us, we have no fucking clue. You know, we all vote to kind of hope that things will be different, but, you know, as chameleons shed their colors from time to time and jump from parties, we have no idea when the true color comes out. But
What a metaphor. This is what a metaphor. He went chameleon instead of like snake shedding
JD
its skin.
is deep today.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, so you never know what fucking color is coming to what side or whatever and how they're going to vote, you know, because you always have this synopsis where Californians or whatever will move to whatever state and keep their voting practices, but always wonder how their state is getting so fucked up. And, you know, I moved here from California back in 2003, 2004, and I was 16 at the time, I think. Maybe, yeah, I was about 16 at the time.
That was for you,
And
Nate.
I never
That
had to
was
worry about
loud.
voting. But, you know, as I grew up, my parents always voted Democrat.
So did mine.
So, you know, and that's also to say that, you know, most people who are just coming of age, you know, when they're 18 or whatever and voting for the first time, they usually mimic their parents because they have no idea what the fuck's going on. They're not politically awake. They're usually going to school or just trying to fucking live day to day, going to school, sleeping, eating, whatever, you know, dealing with the girls and watching movies and playing fucking Xbox all day. So when it comes time to voting, they just vote and mimic whatever their parents have down, and that's it. And then they start realizing that that's not working out, and then they start having their own opinions and their own views, and then things get, you know, either good or bad. It
Most
just
people
depends.
don't get political until they start seeing what's coming out of their paycheck.
Well, absolutely that, and you know, if you're an avid TV watcher, you know, if most of the people who are playing fucking video games all day aren't going to worry about what's going on in the news, so they're just going to vote as what their friends do or their family does, you know, unless they have an eye opening essentially to like, hey, you said this last week, but then you said this week that you didn't say that last week. What's going on here? And they start questioning things. That's when things actually start changing.
You're taking it out of context.
Yeah. So the Federal Reserve, in a well-telegraphed move, raised in short-term borrowing rate of of 75% point to a target range of 3.75% to 4%, the highest level since January 2008. The central bank's new statement hinted at a potential change in how it will approach monetary policy and bringing down inflation. Okay, so the percentage rate goes up. So didn't the housing market also change here in Washington State? I think it's 8% now.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so when you buy or sell a house, not only are you paying a higher interest rate there, you're also paying a higher interest rate at the stores because supply and demand. And that also leads into our next segue. You know, Mike, how do you feel about the diesel shortages that are coming?
Well, I mean, if we look at how the economy's run, everything runs off of diesel, period. I mean, if a lot of people don't seem to understand that your stuff coming to the supermarket is delivered by what?
18-wheeler.
Yeah, 18-wheeler. What does that take? Diesel. And then the farming aspect of it too. Everything farming-wise is run off of diesel. So
all your tractors, your excavators,
as that
everything.
price, either A, as it disappears, the price is going to increase, but also it's going to increase not only from delivery, but it's going to increase from the farming itself. So the price is going to go up there, and then it's going to increase in delivery. And that's assuming that it makes it from the farm to the supermarket, you know, and that's through the distributor and everything else, because most of that stuff goes through a distributor in the first place. So you're going to go farm, diesel, to distributor, diesel, from distributor to supermarket, diesel. And as that runs out, I mean, what are we down to now? What does it say, about 19 days? Are we sitting around there?
20 days. If we were to stop producing diesel today, we'd have 20 days left to supply. And what they're saying is that the entire East Coast would be hit. And now, the biggest thing to think about this is that if let's just say that we got all our produce from the east side of United States, right? So not only do those truckers have to make it, 3,000 to 5,000 miles. I think it's 5,000 miles from coast to coast or something like that.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah, so they have to make it from one side of the coast to the other coast with 20 days worth of diesel. Okay, so now even companies have even gotten out a rationing card and extra tanks, like small little, make it 25-mile tanks or whatever. So that way those who are delivering important goods to the stores, like groceries and produce and all that kind of stuff, can make it. But like Mike just made a point, was that every delivery truck that is coming in is diesel. And not to mention what California did over the summertime is that they put a ban on anything pre-date. I think it was like anything prior to 2017 was not allowed to go to the port. So not only did companies have to spend money to get new trucks, which we also have a chip shortage, mind you, so I'm sure there's a delay on that, but money coming into the ports or whatever, or vehicles coming into the ports. So now you have to have a new truck. You have to have diesel to make that truck move, and then you have to get it from one coast to the other coast or whatever, so you can have your precious grapefruits and fucking fresh produce.
Well,
grapefruits kind of suck anyways. Who wants them?
I can't have grapefruit, actually.
Oh, well, you're so affected there, aren't you?
So the other thing is that people aren't thinking about, too, is that our entire logistics is all run off of diesel. So when you say that California, and I don't know the validity of the California having to upgrade fleets, but in order to get the chips from the shipyard, you're having to use diesel for that, too.
Oh, I know. Coming back from the river this morning, I saw diesel for almost $7 in Elma.
So here's
$7.
So here's another point to make too. They're talking for a really bad winter. What are power generators fueled by?
Mostly diesel.
Okay, so we're not talking about just your consumables here. We're talking about your livelihoods. So if you're in a government building or something like that, and I'm pretty sure an average Joe is going to have a gas generator, but most substantial generators,
long-term generation.
Well, all your backup generators at your hospitals are all diesel.
Absolutely. So, this goes a lot further than just your home life situation of what we're going to eat today. This also goes for your loved ones, your jobs or whatever, that if we had some crazy power shortage during this, fuel shortage as well, we're going to run out of power. We're going to run out of consumables and food. So Mike's been saying for those last, 6 podcasts now to stock up on whatever you got. And Mike's somewhat self-sufficient. He's got his own water, his own chickens, so he's got eggs. And if he needed to, he'd have chicken if he needed it. He's got plenty of meat because we've got a good source for some cattle that gives us ground beef and all that kind of stuff. So most people aren't prepared. They're going to run out of rice. They're going to run out of wheat. They're going to run out of sugar. They're going to run out of the main necessities to keep you going. And especially if you have kids, you're going to have a little bit more than just the average person, the single bachelor, so to speak.
Well, I think what it comes down to, as well, as people aren't used to sufficient living anymore, self-sufficiency. So the thought is, well, hey, I'll just go down to the supermarket. Well, okay, you leave your house, you go down to the supermarket. Well, you can't get gas for your car anymore. Because why?
Fuel couldn't get there because the truck that delivers the gas is diesel.
Exactly. So you're running out of fuel that way. So you can't get to the supermarket anyway. So these people that live in cities and depend on the supermarket, which the supermarket may not have anything anyway. And so that's self-sufficiency has disappeared from this country. And I've, over the years, have tried to make it so my family at least has a little bit of sufficiency, that we can survive at least for a little while, whether it's off of, the eggs, the water that I'm reclaiming from, my roof. It's not expensive if you can do it. Okay, it's not cheap. Let me put that out there. It's not cheap to do it, but it's not expensive either. For example, reclaiming water from my roof. Can I immediately use that water? No, obviously not. There's going to be stuff in it, whether it's from the roofing itself, or from the air. I'd have to treat the water, but at least buying a caged container, 275-gallon container right now, you can pick up for $150. So I've bought 2 of them. I have 550 gallons worth. And with the rain that we've been having recently, luckily we live in the Pacific Northwest. In the week and a half that it started raining from the end of our summer into fall, which, hit us like a ton of bricks. I mean, fall was just here. There was no weaning off a little bit.
Well, we had the driest October pretty much.
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. But we went from it's been sunny since the end of June, and we've had very little rain, to this last week. It just said, okay, well, it's going to dump now.
Here comes the rain.
And in 1 week or a week and a half, I've just about filled one of those entire 275-gallon containers in 1 week. And I need to connect the second one because right now it's not connected. But when I connect the second one, then I have 550 gallons worth of water that I can filter to be able to at least make semi-potable.
Now, do you filter it or do you treat it?
Well, I haven't gotten that far yet. So right now I'm just collecting it because at least if I need to water crops or anything like that, I have that option. It's not the worst water in the world. I don't know necessarily what's in it at this point. I did just have a roof put on the house, but...
And we do live pretty close to McCord.
I don't know what that means.
It means the planes that are flying over and leaving stuff in the...
Well, I mean... I'd rather have the option than no option.
No, 100%. Yeah.
It's probably better than all the fluoride that's in the city water.
Well, you know what that does to people, right?
You can always take the campfire method too and take a nice.
Well, and that would be the option
is
to at least distill it in some fashion, whether it's boiling it and taking the steam and using that distilled water. At least that's an option. Granted, there's not any nutrients in that. There's no minerals. Distilled water has nothing in it. It's just water. But at least it's semi-sustainable.
Better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. Exactly. And having chickens. I mean, chickens, yes, our chickens, we have 17 chickens. And it costs me, $30 a month. And we do sell off some of the eggs to try to offset that cost. But at $50 a month, at this point, I get several dozen a week. I have several dozen eggs a week, and that can sustain us for a very long period of time. And chickens are stupid, but for the most part, they take care of themselves, so it's not a huge deal. Back to you guys.
So,
what are you guys doing? Let me ask that. Okay, so, we know where I'm at with semi-sustainability. I mean, obviously, I guess it's not obvious. I am a gun owner. I own quite a few firearms. I do have a relative amount of ammunition. It's not overboard in my opinion of how many rounds I have and stuff like that. But even having a 22 rifle or something like that,
Something.
it's better than nothing. I mean, at least if shit hit the fan, I can go out and shoot a rabbit,
Yeah.
or I can shoot a deer. A 22 will take down a deer if you place that shot well enough.
It's a pretty hard shot to make, though.
It's not an easy shot to make, but it's better than nothing.
Hey, and where we live, we have a lot of wild game. We really do. I mean, we see elk.
We are
every
very
morning.
lucky in where we live.
Yeah,
Yes.
I see a lot of deer, elk, all kinds of stuff on the way out to work every morning. Like, there are big game around. Big time. We saw a bobcat walking down the highway on the way to work the other morning.
I mean, if you're hungry, you're going to eat whatever you can get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to eat roadkill, but if I have to,
There's a lot of roadkill these days. Do you see it all over?
yeah, raccoons and stuff
Oh
like that.
man!
I mean, I don't want to eat any trash bandits, but
I've seen one of the saddest things that I think I've seen in a long time. It was a raccoon in the middle of the road that only had its back half smashed, and it had its paws out, and looking up at us as we're driving past it.
man,
It was
that
pretty
sucks.
sad.
but no, I want to ask you guys too. I mean, as we've been talking about politics for a while, in this podcast, anybody who's in the chat, which I don't know if there is very many people in the chat. I only see 2, and I think one of them's Nate. But what is everyone else doing to try to at least be semi-sufficient in the case that something does happen? Because this is not the worst of it.
No, I got a small generator. I got some gas put away. Not much, but because it will go bad after a while.
Yeah, it does.
you
Yeah,
know.
the octane levels drop.
You gotta make sure that you're always swapping those out,
Or have an additive,
have an additive.
stable or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
We have a couple of chest freezers that are full of salmon and elk and.
Speaking of, we need to make a trade.
Oh, you want some salmon?
You
huh?
want some eggs?
I'd love some salmon as well.
Oh, look at
got
you
some-
two with your hands out.
I got some Ukrainian
Oh, no, no,
cooking.
no. No, this is
This
the
guy
bartering
acts-
system.
Yeah.
This is the bartering system. I
Yeah,
have.
So
it's like we're asking for
self-sufficient, you can
something
go catch some
non-exchange.
fish, huh?
Well, the idea is you have a bartering system. So
Yeah.
you guys don't necessarily have the space to have chickens. I do. So
We're
at
trying
least
to,
in that way, I can trade a protein for a protein.
we're trying to give some quid pro quo over here. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah.
Mike gives you some eggs. I give you some meat.
Hey,
Ukrainian cooking.
I can procure the salmon, bud. I caught 2 this morning.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
yeah. My
So,
parents love
yeah,
it, and
exactly.
know
I mean,
Ina
just
loves it.
having-
She can't have it.
Just having some sort of backup plan, and prepping is kind of a bad word nowadays. The show.
I necessarily don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. But with shows like Doomsday Preppers and stuff like that,
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
shined a terrible light on people that just want to be
That's the
self-sufficient.
Well,
extreme
that's-
end of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's tied to one side or the other as far as party, and it also ties to who's got most money to be able to buy a whole level of a silo and shit like that. That's what they tie it to. But when you look at like an average day farmer, farmers are doomsday preppers, because think about it. When times start getting hard, they're gonna stop selling their crop because they need to feed their family. And a lot of times too, money from selling their crops is what provides for the family. But if you've got no diesel to be able to farm your own crops, and you've got no diesel to be able to get the goods to the store, you might as well just live off your land. There's no.
Well, and you
fucking
have that
sense.
option, which is nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't make sense to do otherwise. I've got 17 mags from my Smith and Wessons. I've got 2 of them, and they're all full.
Yeah, mine
So,
too.
I can't really complain. My 5.56, I've got, I don't know, eight mags, I think, and they're full. So I don't have thousands of rounds here or there.
I
'cause
do.
Rounds that aren't in mags are useless anyway.
Yes and no.
So if I've got 1,000 rounds worth of magazines laying around, then there's a problem. But I think that what I have, just for
but
going
you
to
only have
shooting
1,000
ranges-
rounds of magazines.
No, I don't have 1,000 rounds of magazines.
Oh.
That's 30 rounds a mag. And 17 rounds. per
Pre-Washington
Smith
ban, of course.
Pre-ban.
Pre-ban.
Wesson. I didn't even know there was a ban.
Well, they're grandfathered in, so how?
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly.
So I don't have to worry about it. I'm not. It's not like I'm buying new shit when I can't even afford the ammo.
But back to your question, yeah, we got some gas. We got some food in the freezers. We got a small generator, and then I also have these 2 hands and tools that I'm not a useless fuck. I can build shit. I can weld. I can, wrench. I can fix things, and that's a tradable commodity as well.
Obviously
You
having
need a gate built in front of your compound? Shit, I'll weld that shit up for you.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't own hand saws or something like that, so we can cut our own lumber by hand instead of relying on power tools. Because like I said, if the power goes out, you have to really rely on your skills and abilities to be able to do things manually.
Well, it really
manual
comes
labor.
down to how bad things get. So, I mean, if we still have power and water and things are just kind of haywire in the cities, we'll all be okay.
Yeah.
If it comes down to the fact that we don't have power anymore, we might be in trouble. I mean,
Well,
even I'll
everybody's
be
in trouble at that
I mean,
point.
I'll be in trouble too. I mean, I'm not saying that I am the be all end all of surviving, because I'm certainly not. But I'm trying to at least get to a point where I have some sustainability in the case that I can't go to work. I can't drive to work. Freeways are blocked, or, there's mass rioting and we just can't get to work. Or I can't get to the supermarket because there's no gas. I mean, at least I have some sort of sustainability in the meantime.
I also have a couple spots picked out that are out there, on river systems that are full of fish, and out on places where there's game to hunt. And
Well,
if
and I
shit's
have the
really-
knowledge. I
if-
have the knowledge of electricity. I mean, I'm an electrician. I understand how electrons work, so I do have ways of being able to harness, whether it's wind power, making a windmill, at least to be able to charge batteries in the interim, so that you can keep your freezers going and stuff like that. I mean, you're not going to have lights, and you're not going to have internet, and all the luxuries that we have, but
the
least
necessities.
if we can keep a refrigerator going, at least, or a freezer going for
Keeping
8 hours. If you can have your freezer go for 8 hours, have it shut off for 16 hours, it'll still stay cold as long as nobody's, repeatedly opening and closing the damn thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, I think as long as, during the 8 hours, I think that would be the peak optimal time to sit there and grab what you need and then close it, leave it shut, for your other 8 hours, whatever. Plan out your meals. Literally, you're going to have to start planning some shit out, like evacuation routes and cooking habits, and, what you're going to consume and how long you have and what food you have in there. Start taking inventory of all your stuff. And I think now would be the good time to start harnessing thermal power, because, when it comes to power going out, what are you going to sit around to stay warm? A fire. So if you don't have options for a stove, you're going to have to find other, necessities.
That's
as
another
far as-
great resource we have out here in the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely.
We
We have tons
trees.
of trees that
We
we can
have-
chop down.
You can build with them. You can keep yourself warm with them.
what's up, Wicked Wheels?
Hey, Wicked.
What's up, Wheels?
Oh, unless the sun burns. Are you talking about like a Carrington event?
Well, he's saying solar panels is the way to go. Yes and no. I mean, the problem with solar panels is they're so expensive. They're really expensive to get solar panels even now, even though solar panels have become more of a thing. They're still very expensive to get. You have to have the electrical know-how to use them in the first place and to install them. And then that's assuming that we get the amount of light that's necessary, because the way solar panels work is the solar panel with the least amount of sun, that's what the rest of them get.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, these are all getting 100% and this one's getting 85, so, you're just losing a little bit. No, they're all outputting 85%.
Well, how many days a year is it really cloudy in the Northwest?
Yeah, and it's up in the air about if how well solar panels work when it's overcast. They may not work at all. I mean, I don't know that 100%.
That's why they put those big banks of them in the Southwest.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, but luckily in our power grid, especially where we live, we do have hydro, and hydropower is what powers most of our state. So,
Absolutely.
in fact, we sell a lot of our hydropower to California.
Yep.
Because we have so much power output by our dams, which they're trying to dismantle. So,
Well, there's
go-
only a
go
couple
figure.
of them. Like there are a few barrier dams, like the Snake River dams, that were
Columbia.
literally built to keep the Japanese from coming upriver if they ever, in World War II, if they ever decided to come inland. If they ever tried to come into the United States, they were called barrier dams. They didn't think about fucking up fish migration or anything like that, and they have choked off spawning grounds, and the fish are dying on those rivers because of these barrier dams. They're not hydro dams.
Well, I thought they had created fish ladders to be able to.
Yes, and like the Bonneville, and Wanapum, and
Which-
a couple of the others that go up the Columbia River are hydro dams that have fish ladders, and they're very effective. The fish still get upstream and make it all the way to Idaho and Canada, believe it or not. But these barrier dams are literally just a barrier in the river to keep traffic from getting further inland. And they're bad news.
Now, Alder Dam. Okay, so Alder Dam's not too far from us. That's a hydroelectric dam as well, is it not?
It should, yeah.
Because
Yes.
Alder Lake is a man-made lake.
Yes, it is.
So
There's actually a town underneath that lake.
yeah, there. Well,
Underneath Rife Lake, there's an old town that they
Yeah.
flooded. I've been up there on low water years and seen the foundations
yeah, or
to
when
these
they
old houses.
when they dredge them after
Oh, yeah.
draining them. Yeah,
It's interesting to go up there in the middle of the summer when there's no water, and you can literally see the old foundations of this town that they flooded to make this place.
Matter of fact, there's been several people who do the cliff jumping down there on Alder Lake, right where the waterfalls and stuff are. And they've died several times. Several people have died because they've got stuck on rebar from the original buildings that are existing at the bottom of the cliffs.
Well, the Cowlitz River facility, so the whole Cowlitz River, Rife Lake, Mayfield, Alder, that's all man-made. That's all man-made,
including the Cowlitz River.
including Cowlitz River.
Okay,
They dammed
yeah,
it up.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, well, so a lot of those rivers, I may be wrong about this, but I don't think so. It was a small tributary, and they made it the main stem to feed these holding lakes, which Mayfield, Rife, Alder, they're all holding lakes. They're made to hold water to use during the summertime. If I don't know if you guys have driven past Alder lately, it's a mud flat right now.
Yep.
Would they drain it again?
No, we just didn't have any water this year. We
But
did not get any
Now
rain.
it's gonna fill up.
It
fairly
will
quickly.
fill up now,
Yeah.
but in my 40 years on this planet, and my 30 years driving out that way and being old enough to remember, I have never, ever seen it.
that naturally low.
Rocky Point boat launch, you can't launch a boat there. It's mud.
Yeah.
It's dry baked mud. Well, probably not now because it got a little water, but it's literally, so the Nisqually River runs into Alder Lake right there at Elby, and it is trickling because there's no snowfall and there's no rainfall up in the hills and in the forests up there.
Yeah.
The Tilton River is just a trickle, and so part of Tacoma Power's charter or whatever, they have to catch those fish and stuff like that. And they actually truck a lot of those fish up past those dams and dump them in those rivers.
That's interesting.
Well, that's the point of some of those hatcheries that are there. Like they've got a hatchery that's up there by Alder, and they've got a hatchery that's over there by the Cowlitz.
Yeah, there's a couple hatcheries on the Cowlitz.
Yeah, and
There's one on the Carbon. There's one on the Puyallup. There's one on Name the River. There's probably a hatchery on it.
yep, yeah.
There's
and
one
it
on the
just
Satsum.
depends. Well, I know that there's coho salmon in Puyallup.
There's Kings, Coho, Pinks, Chums, and it was historically one of the best steelhead rivers in the entire state, and they killed that off.
Yep. Now Nisqually is the best one, isn't it? That and
No, your coastal
Snohomish.
rivers. You can't fish for steelhead anymore, except for some coastal rivers out on the peninsula, and a lot of them are native rivers.
You talking about the one out there by Shelton?
No, I'm
That's
talking up there
Snohomish.
by Forks and stuff like that, like the Bogoshiel or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Hoe.
yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of those rivers, you either have to go with a native guide or be a native to fish those rivers.
Yeah.
Steelhead fishing in Washington is probably done forever.
Hmm.
And you'll still find a little bit of stillfish on Puyallup River.
That's
every once
actually
in
a
while.
great segue into the article that Mrs. Berryboy sent us a little while ago about the Alaskan crab fishing issues that are going on right now.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
They migrated.
they either migrated or the other thought is they got a disease and died off,
Oh, I
which
didn't hear
would
that
not.
part.
Yeah, that would not be good. That's one of the theories right now.
I
is-
thought that they were getting a lot of them were getting caught in Bristol Bay right now.
I have no idea. All I know is the price of fuel at this point. I mean, they can't go out far enough. You know, the price of fuel is so high for ships that they can't
Yeah.
they can't go out far enough anyway. So,
You
I
talking
mean,
about this article
The
right
snow crabs are just
which article?
they've never shut down the crab season like they just did.
Yeah, so this one, the Alaskan shuts down crab season after disseminated survey results.
Hey, Chad, how do you like that? You know, being able to pull up articles now.
Yeah. Look,
Hell yeah.
We have the technology.
We have the technology.
Yeah, so the Alaskan Department of Fish and Game canceled the Apollo snow, red king crab, a blue king
Apelio.
crab seasons.
Apelio.
Is that Apelio?
Apelio
I don't got
crab.
my okay. I don't got my glasses on. For 22 and 23, a devastating blow to North Pacific fishermen and processors after trawl surveys showed a continuing crash in abundance. And this also goes for that TV show too, right?
Yeah, this is yeah, definitely the whatever that fucking show's called, the
Deadliest catch.
the deadliest catch. Yeah. No, it's
And it's offshoots. It has like a few offshoots.
yeah. I don't know what people are going to do for fish. I mean, that is the primary source of crab for this country is the Alaskan fishing season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that they can't get crab, I mean, the price
them-
of crab is going to fucking skyrocket.
All those casino crab buffets gone.
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 Not to mention the Alaskans, the
Oh,
Eskimos.
yeah.
Because what do they eat the most?
Seal,
They eat
Moose.
seal.
caribou.
What do seal eat?
Moose.
Seal
Crab.
eat
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So they eat a lot of stuff that's in the water, right?
But those,
Mainly
so
Croatians.
those, especially like your king crabs, your apelios, your red crabs, your snow crabs, those are out way too deep for seals to get at.
Some of them actually swim to the surface. You know, especially after the crab
Yeah,
season.
but you're talking about a really small percentage
Yeah.
of
Well, we're
of
talking
them
about
at that
crab
point.
pots coming up. I mean, you know, they're no different than the seagulls of the water.
But they're going down 250 fathoms to get those crabs.
Yeah, it's
but when
800
those
feet.
pots
It's
come up-
900 feet. It's 1,000 feet, if not more.
Yeah, when those pots come up, it's bringing crabs that are falling outside of those pots.
And they're way too far out to sea for seals to be out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking 150, 200 miles away.
They're out there
Yeah.
in the Bering Sea. There's no islands out there.
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's
I mean,
nothing for
once,
the seals to beach themselves.
Yeah, once you're away from the Aleutian Islands, you're not. There's nothing. I mean, it's unless they're sitting on ice caps that are out there. There's nothing, and I don't even think they go out that far. Honestly, the seals don't.
No, they gotta have shorelines to beach themselves and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. So no, I don't. I don't fucking know, man. It's just
It's a weird.
this world's getting crazy and things are getting crazy, and I didn't anticipate this at my age. You know, at my mid 30s, not being able to
You young
go
buck.
to the store to get fucking crab or being able to fish or, well, pretty soon possibly be able to drive.
Yep.
You know, it's getting crazy.
Well,
And
the funny thing is that they were talking about too with electric cars being the thing, right? By 2025 and then 2030 being the final date for everybody having an electric vehicle. Well, like we said, if the power grid goes out, they're not going to have enough diesel to be able to supply
Our
the energy
power
to
grid is in
charge your car.
shambles.
Yeah, well, and I mean, this is California too, one of the biggest states in the United States. Right?
And
Not
They're
even
trying to do
having
the
enough
same here
power.
too.
And the biggest state, it's suckling the teat of all the other states. I mean, they don't have their own water. They
Nope.
don't have their own electricity. They buy it from everywhere else.
Yep.
I mean, the Colorado River, they have to buy water rights to be able to bring water in from the Colorado River.
Which doesn't reach the sea anymore.
yeah. So,
The only thing that they do have going for them is the refineries for petroleum products, and even then, petroleum companies are actually moving out of the state because their rates are too high.
Yep.
Because they have the climate pledge tax or whatever you want to call it, the climate change tax on top of that. So it's costing an astronomical startup fee just for some of these people just to start working that day.
Well, old Mein Führer Inslee is trying to do that here too by 2035. Did you read that story?
Yep.
Yeah, that's our power grid is not in good shape in this country. We really need to think about putting some money into refitting our power grid because one, it's vulnerable to outside attack just by hacks or
well, and you
terrorism
you
or-
can speak to that as of recently from where you work.
Oh yeah, we got hacked. Our mill was shut down for 2 weeks because somebody got into some professional hacker group code. So my mill is owned by a corporation out of They own 4 mills. They own like Danner Boots and like some other big companies. They're called the Hitochu Group. They're out of Japan. And I guess they've dealt with this before, but they got hacked. They shut down our computers, and we were out of work for we weren't. Us millwrights weren't out of work. They said, hey, you can
But
have all-
production was out of work.
Production got to stay home for 2 weeks. They paid them for one of the weeks, but they wanted $6.5 million to unlock our computers, and they told them to go fuck themselves. And they had their
Good.
best and brightest. I guess they had a plan for this because this had happened to them before. So they had our IT departments and their best IT departments there in Japan just completely redo our whole systems. Bought every motherboard and every other mainframe they could get their hands on to refit this whole thing, and got us back up in 2 weeks.
This is not an ASMR video.
Yeah, so you guys work in the lumber industry, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, and that's one of the things we were talking about was one of the main sources for fuel. Not only that, we have power poles that rely on that specific industry itself. So, you have lumber and stuff like that gets sold to Home Depot to build stick-built houses. You have fuel that's coming out of it. There's a lot of byproducts, especially from a mill.
We sell everything. We sell our chips. We sell our sawdust. They make pencils out of our sawdust.
Yep.
They make all kinds of stuff out of it. Every scrap of fiber they can get out of that building, they sell it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Why not? I mean, to be able to use every piece of that product, why wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, they make Presto logs and all kinds of stuff out of our stuff.
Pellets for wood
Pellets
stoves.
for wood stoves
which
are
Mike happens to
huge.
use.
Yeah, and that's part of my sufficiency. Something I've overlooked is I have a pellet stove for heating my house, and that's what we use solely. And unfortunately, if the power grid for some reason did go down, I don't have a way to run fans inside of that pellet stove to be able to evacuate smoke, as well as the fan that's used to ignite and keep the
Pellets burning.
pellets burning.
What
Now,
about
granted, it doesn't take a whole lot of electricity to use one of those, so it's about 400 watts to start. You drop pellets in. As soon as they're ignited, that shuts off. The igniter shuts off, and it goes down to about 100 watts for the fans. There's a fan that blows in to keep keep oxygen going, and then a fan to evacuate. And so that's an issue that
that might be a
have
12-volt battery
overlooked.
type situation.
I don't know for
Or a
sure
battery or whatever.
So
I know I do
And some
come home with
computer
enough
fans.
sawdust in my ass crack to sell you pellets out of it.
okay, well, you start making pellets out of your ass crack, and I'll buy them.
Oh, man.
Unless the power goes out, and then you're out of a job.
I'm sure those Japanese people will make sure we will run somehow. I almost slipped up.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Well, my parents run press logs themselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's no different than, small ass little pellets, but just a big form of it. And it's easier for them to get started instead of cutting up all the wood that we have around here.
And we have a bunch of mills out here. We got Hampton, we got Alta, we got Pacific, we got Weyerhaeuser. There's a lot of wood industry still here.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, so we do only cedar, and we truck cedar in from everywhere, like Colorado. They truck it in from or bring it down on barges from Alaska. When we know when we're cutting wood from Alaska because there's so much salt, smell in the air. Oh, we got some of them sea logs again. It's kind of crazy.
I really like Alaska. I've been there once. It was really nice. It was beautiful. It was very cold.
I've been there once. I went to Fairbanks and I went to Anchorage, and when I went to Fairbanks, it was 40 below.
Yeah, no, it's
I was out there
that's
welding.
a different kind of cold that people,
Oh,
unless you experience, you don't understand.
you don't
it.
know cold until you walk outside and it's 40 below and you go,
Yeah, the coldest it got when I went up there, because I went up there, it was the beginning of January, so dead winter.
Mm.
And we were driving through the Yukon Territory, and at one point we're driving, and I see the temperature in the truck get down to negative 55.
yeah.
And it's just a different kind of cold. Now, grant you, once you're below negative 20, everything below that doesn't seem to matter. It's just cold.
Yeah.
And you can only be outside, with bare skin for 10 minutes.
Oh, man.
If you're out there any longer, you're gonna get frostbite. You're gonna lose appendages. Like, you have to bundle up
You have to have like 8 layers on, gloves, hat,
for sure.
scarf, the
Yeah.
whole.
I mean, I would wear about 3. You know, I'd have a set of long johns, my normal clothes, and then I would have, you know, a jacket or 2, you know, just to maintain warmth. But I wasn't outside for any real long periods of time.
I was out there welding outside for hours. It sucked.
Oh man! And then if you sweat and you
Ugh.
get cold, you die faster.
Yeah.
I mean, if you sweat and you're in those temperatures, you die. That's basically what happens.
Yeah. We were there so it was Super Bowl. So it was, January.
Yeah.
It was so cold, man. It was ridiculous. I would go outside to smoke, take like 2 drags, say, fuck it, it ain't worth it. I'm going back in the hotel.
I will tell you that 10 degrees or 20 degrees there is t-shirt weather. That's, you know.
I saw some of the craziest thing I ever seen in my life when we were up there. It was like 1:00 in the morning. We're in the middle getting into the hotel, and this native drunk girl comes stumbling in from outside. And the guy who's running the counter is like, get the fuck out of here. You know you're not supposed to be in here. Blah, 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 blah. And he kicks her back out into the snow. I'm like, man, I'm from Seattle. And I'll tell you what, if somebody saw you doing that, you would be on the news. And he's like, fuck them. They're made for this. We'd have to deal with this shit all the time.
They have some interesting drinks there, too. What you'll find a lot in the ditches and stuff is you'll find like little bottles of Scope. They'll actually, to get the alcohol volume out of it, they'll mix that with like Milwaukee's Best and stuff, and it's just fucking gross. Like, no, there's not an amount of alcohol that I don't know. I'm not much of a drinker, but I mean, I guess if you have a problem, that's definitely a fucking problem.
Well, Anchorage or Fairbanks, and Anchorage is different because that's city.
Yeah,
But out there in Fairbanks, it was
city. Anchorage is not really what. It's not the city that you think it is. It's not like Seattle.
No, it's not.
It'd be like Olympia.
Yeah.
You know that
It's a
that's,
small
yeah,
city.
it's a very
but
small
it's still
city.
got a McDonald's and a
Yeah,
Walmart.
it has a McDonald's and a Walmart.
But Fairbanks was different, man. So my cousin used to live up there, and I called her. I was like, hey, where's a good place to eat? And she says this place, it's this little... So we drive out there into the like woods and shit like that. And we take these couple switchbacks, and all of a sudden, boom, there's this like house looking thing. And it's one of the best prime ribs I ever had in my damn life. I got a picture of it. It was awesome.
Yeah, if you want to eat different game, Alaska is the place to go. I've had caribou, I've had moose. It's all fantastic. Like, you know, like you buy those pepperoni sticks from what's up, Dan?
People in Anchorage.
You buy those pepperoni sticks from like Oh Boy Oberto, you know, which is a local company to us.
Yeah.
My buddy who lives up there, he had some of those made with moose, and oh my god, it's the best fucking thing I've ever had. Like, I should get him to send me some.
Yeah. Yeah, Alaska's. One of these days we're gonna have Stepan on the podcast. He spent 6 or 7 years fishing up there on the Tiogiak River, guiding and stuff like that. He's got some funny ass fucking stories.
Oh, I'm
dude.
sure Dan does too.
Holy shit.
Because Dan here in the chat, he actually grew up in Dan. Where were you? Soldotna, Alaska, just right outside, you know, Palmer, Soldotna, Wasilla area, just kind of right outside of Anchorage.
Oh, Wasilla, isn't that where what's her name was from?
What's her name?
I can see Russia from my house. What's her name?
Oh,
she was
Sarah
gonna be.
Palin?
There you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sarah Palin.
Yeah. That
Soldotna and Kenai. It
Kenai.
looks like.
Okay. That's kind of peninsula, isn't it?
Yeah,
No.
that's the south side of Anchorage, isn't it? I don't know for sure. I don't know.
So we got another story here too by the Washington Times. White House deletes tweet about Social Security after Twitter adds fact check.
Did you pull that up?
Yeah.
All right.
And so here's the story here by the Washington Times, and the story is kind of funny here because the White House on Wednesday deleted a tweet, and this was posted November 2nd, by the way. White House deletes a tweet crediting President Biden for increasing the size of Social Security payments, which had actually gone up because of cost of living increase tied to inflation. The tweet was removed after Twitter added a clarification to the message amid widespread criticism from Republicans. Seniors are getting the biggest increase of their Social Security checks in 10 years through President Biden's leadership, the White House tweeted. Well, the funny thing is about that is that Twitter immediately added context to the post, pointing out that the large benefit increase was automatic cost of living adjustment based on the rate of inflation as required under the federal law. So the cool thing that I like about Elon Musk's new control of Twitter is that not only do they add a fact check, but they also add an ability to put in more context for the reason why it's fact checked.
What leadership?
And
Yeah, we agree with you, Dan.
and also to add background information if someone has more insight on the information. So that way it gets sent to Twitter staff. They can look into it and then verify it.
He has staff. I thought he fired them all.
He's got 7 people currently. So I'm sure he's got more people, but only 7 people have any privileges within the entire company to be able to do anything about Twitter at the most part, because he revoked everybody's privileges to be able to take down a post.
There you go. Free speech should be free speech.
Well, and the biggest backlash that I'm seeing too from all the articles that I read about Elon's takeover of Twitter is that there's a massive hiatus, obviously, because of a lot of the Democrats and Republicans now, that they say that there's a lot of hate speech. And remember, the name of Cat Turd came up, and I've actually talked to Cat Turd a couple times on Twitter when I was on there. But Cat Turd, they say that
What a name.
Whoa. What is Cat Turd?
that's his name on Twitter.
That's his name?
Yep.
He's a guy on Twitter named Cat Turd.
Yep. Oh,
Alright.
people who want to be anonymous will name themselves different. Just like a gamer tag on Xbox or PlayStation.
All right, go on. I'm
So-
intrigued about this Cat Turd.
So he was talking about how he lost 1,500 followers, and then every time he shares something, that it's not getting the amount of shareship that it used to get, and nobody's liking or responding to his posts anymore. And what that was in relation to was the amount of bots, essentially, that were attacking his page and what there were on there. And apparently they just got rid of 65,000 people or something like that between Friday and Saturday. And these are all accounts that they thought were bots.
No camera switching at the moment.
And come to find out too was that Twitter found a lot more information about Twitter, or Elon found a lot more information out about Twitter than what Twitter had told him before he
Yeah, they're
bought it.
hiding a bunch of shit from him.
Well, we just found out that they had a back portal to Facebook to allow government employees to go in there under it was X takedown / login, and they were able to go into Facebook with a gov.email and be able to take down a post or take down a theme of post if it didn't align with the agenda, so to speak. And that's how the Hunter Biden thing became. And I posted 2 things. I posted one with a Hunter Biden picture of him in his bathtub smoking a cigarette, and then I posted another one of Jeffrey Epstein with a Christmas ornament and said this ornament didn't hang himself. And I thought it was fucking hilarious, mind you.
that
But
is
this
pretty
is from
good.
over 2 years ago, and I'm still on a 20-day ban currently as of yesterday, I think. And I thought it was just funny because the elections are coming up, and it makes me feel like I'm a vital part of what could sway someone's opinion.
Well, the
of my
Department
ban.
of Homeland Security just got caught, telling big tech, oh, you should do this, or you should censor this, or censor that.
Well, they found emails.
Yeah.
And what was the lady who just got fired as soon as Elon Musk walked in?
Oh, Vijaya Gade.
Yeah, Vijaya Gade.
What a name.
There was messages and emails from Vijaya Gade to government entities, so to speak, and she was meeting with them every month.
Yeah.
And she was fired on the spot as soon as he got in there.
We're not censoring. We're just censoring who they want us to censor.
And now she's untagging herself from every post that was directed or added to her. So they're finding a lot of information about it.
Ask
about
Hillary
somebody's
about
employees.
Epstein.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to ask Hillary that. We do not want to get suicided.
We do not want to get.
What the fuck are you eating candy over there?
He is.
I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm ASMRing it.
Oh Lord, you kids.
Great. Fantastic.
You freaking kids.
Well, it's a treat for our whole 3 viewers. You're welcome.
So the other article that I was reading here is that on Twitter, someone decided to test the algorithm and started tweeting Trump is dead. And a lot of people started sharing it, hashtagging it, and made this go viral with, I think, a couple 100,000 or 1 million people doing it. And it was a comedian intentionally, and they said that Trump had died. He died a horrible death. Right here. Here's what we know. Trump is dead, died badly. Elon Musk has suppressed this news, or has he? Donald Trump Jr. is now just plain Donald Trump. Please like and share. And he was checking out the algorithm to see if anything's changed since Elon Musk has been the CEO.
So has it?
Yeah, because that would have got taken down immediately. Well, actually, no.
No, probably not.
That would have got taken down immediately had the censorship that Elon Musk was talking about, because hate speech is not allowed on the platform, but free speech is, so to speak. I don't know if that makes any sense, because you can't have one without the other.
So what? I mean, why wouldn't you do something along the lines of like Biden is a robot? You know, something along those lines to see if to really test those boundaries, because you know there's a ton of hatred. There's a ton of hatred for Donald Trump.
Are you on Twitter?
I have one. I haven't used it in like 10 years.
Well, that's a great test platform. Let's do it.
I could do that.
We're gonna do a live experiment here on the podcast.
I haven't logged. I don't even know if mine's still, if it's still valid or not. I mean, I haven't logged into it in like 10 years, so I don't know.
Man, we could test free speech, but damn.
It's not me dropping the ball today.
No
so
shit. Well, it's JD as usual.
I was just adjusting my bra.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Jesus Christ. So I was seeing this post the other day about people were posting funny Chuck Norris jokes, and I'd heard most of them, but one was freaking hilarious. It's like, so
Go on.
when Chuck Norris makes a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith smacks himself. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh man.
There was another joke that I heard. It was a bull and a fowl, and they're sitting there by this tree, and this fowl, it's kind of
Like a duck or a chicken?
like a grouse, or what do they call that? A
Grouse?
Yeah, like a grouse. Almost the size of like a peacock, so I don't know what kind of bird that would have been. But he was talking to the bull and telling the bull that he used to be able to jump all the way to the top of the tree.
Oh, I heard this one.
And the bull was like, "Well, that's still possible." And the bird goes, "Well, how is that?" And the bull says, "Well, if you just eat my poop every day for a month."
You can say shit on here. It's fine.
No, eat my shit for every day of the month, then you'll be able to reach the top again. And the bird's like, no, that's not real. And the bull's like, yeah, it is, man. Just try, give it a shot, whatever. And
If
so
you're
the
just
bird,
entering, it's a joke.
yeah. So the bird starts pecking at the poop little by little, and a month goes by, and sure enough, the bird flies to the very top. Well, as soon as the bird gets to the top, the farmer comes out and starts shooting at the tree and hits the bird. And the bull says, "Well, just because you eat bullshit and it gets you to the top doesn't mean you're going to stay there."
That's decent.
I saw an Indian guy make that damn joke. Like he was like,
that's exactly where I got it from.
yeah, okay, we saw the same thing.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday or the day before that.
Hey,
and I
wasn't
thought it
he
was just
talking to
fucking
Russell
hilarious.
Brand or something like that?
No, I think he was talking to The Rock or something. I don't know.
I don't remember who he was talking to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bullshit, Dan. Yes, it's all bullshit.
Dan came over to Twitch because he's tired of how long it takes YouTube to buffer the stream. Hey, again, if you're in the chat, say hello. Let us
Yes.
know you're here. I mean, we want to know who's here, who's watching, who actually wants to participate in this shit.
Yeah, say something. Tell us to shut up.
Yeah.
Insult us. Do something.
Yeah, I mean, it won't change anything, but, we'll at least know you're here, so. All right, what's your next article there, JD? I'm sure you got
So
something.
it says U.S. oil production nears 12 million barrels a day at pre-pandemic high, apparently.
Now go back to that. Back to that. U.S. oil production nears 12 million barrels a day at pre-pandemic high.
You almost said the L. Pre-pandemic high.
Oh.
So, U.S. oil output climbed to nearly 12 million barrels per day in August. Government figures showed on Monday the highest since the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, even as shell companies have said they do not see production accelerating in coming months. U.S. crude oil prices hovered around $85 a barrel after surging into triple digits this year and boosting fuel costs for consumers. President Joe Biden has called on oil companies to boost production to reduce fuel prices. Meanwhile, this article is being posted. Our emergency reserve is being sold elsewhere. So
Is that still happening?
Yes, currently. And that's the reason why we're so short on diesel currently. Not only that, with Russia shutting off the transportation and importation of oil and petroleum to the United States because of the support between Ukraine. That's where
you mean the proxy war that we're actually like basically a part of.
We actually have boots on the ground. So from what I've seen, as far as today, the Pentagon has announced that U.S. troops are in Ukraine, which they were told we were not going to be.
Oh, you're gonna have to find that article because nobody's gonna believe that until you pull it up.
Okay, cool, no problem.
Pull up that article.
Yeah,
let's see it.
Let's see the proof.
Yeah, because you know how some people are. Oh, I gotta see it. I gotta know who it is. It's got to be a reputable source. It can't be biased.
I'm sure the people in the chat are all like that. Every last one of them.
Yeah.
If you're not, say something. I dare you. I challenge you.
Yeah, look that up because that would be interesting if we actually did have boots on the ground. I know we had some civilians and veterans go over there as like civilian contractors for Ukraine, but as for having U.S. military boots on the ground, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical of that because at that point, then we're in the war.
Yeah, it's no longer a proxy war.
Yeah.
We're not just paying other people to fight them for us.
I mean,
anymore.
for the amount of money that we spent on it so far, I guess.
Holy shit, it's
yeah.
been a lot of money.
How many billions? We're in the hundreds of billions.
Yeah, we're in the
of this.
hundreds of billions, and they're about to vote on another 35 or 45 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Get that shit. How do I get part of that? Can I fight Russia for $35 billion? I mean, I'll be glad to fucking be a keyboard warrior and fucking say.
Well,
talk
I
shit to
was
them.
making a joke, and it's not really a joke. So our miserable pullout of Afghanistan, which was terrible. It was a terrible pullout of Afghanistan.
And a crime against humanity.
I was thinking to myself, as a taxpayer, we left $87 billion worth of equipment in Afghanistan. We just left that over there.
Yep.
Is that like a tax write-off we could use? I mean, I feel like, that should be some sort of tax write-off for the American people. I mean,
No,
we paid for that stuff to go over there. Well, I wouldn't mind having more of a write-off. So,
well, what they were looking at too was that there was let's see, what is that called? The lithium. There's lithium mines in Afghanistan, and from my understanding, China had started what's called the Belt and Roads Initiative, which they've done with several other countries. And as soon as we pulled out, China moved in. Okay, so now China's taking control of that mine there. Well, Ukraine also has another lithium mine, and guess what? Joe Biden is best friends with Ukraine, so we thought that it might be easier instead of dealing with terrorists like Al-Qaeda, we deal with friendlies like Ukraine and be able to mine lithium while they're in a proxy war. Now, that's just one idea or one reason why we're in Ukraine. Why we're fighting against Russia, I don't know. But the synopsis of Trump being in as president for the last 4 years was Russia did this, Russia did that, Russia hacked this or hacked that, whatever. It's always been Russia did something, and it's never been Ukraine. So we can only assume that the United States had fueled some of that along with other European countries.
Well,
now, I did find that article, mind you.
Hold on.
Did you?
What does
Yeah, I did.
lithium used for?
Batteries.
Oh, what do we need batteries for now?
Electric vehicles
And
and
why are they-
vibrators.
Why are they mandating electric vehicles?
For clean energy.
And who benefits from the lithium all the way to the electric vehicles?
Who? Tell me.
Oh, I wonder. It's one of your favorite people in the world.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
Who? You gotta tell me.
her husband just got attacked with a hammer.
Oh, you're talking about Paul Pelosi?
Oh, well, you know that they both are heavily invested in electric vehicles and probably got their hands in the pot in the lithium mine too, I'm sure.
I know her husband invested into the alternative company of Tesla, which I believe was Juno or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, something.
Mike, you know more about that stuff than I do.
No, I actually don't know. I don't have that information, and I don't have a computer.
Ah, okay.
Well,
Well,
that would be you. But
can
let's go back to your other article.
Yeah, you found the article. Let's hear where it comes from.
Pentagon confirms U.S. boots are on the ground in Ukraine. 2 bombshell reports by the
Now,
Associated Press.
What is the article? Who's this article from?
This article is from Zero Hedge, and it says right here in the first sentence, 2 bombshell reports by Associated Press and Washington Post Monday and Tuesday had confirmed that the United States has boots on the ground in the Ukraine conflict. Crucially, these troops are performing tasks separate from mere embassy security. The American troops are said to be performing inspections of U.S. weapon caches after last week's the State Department and Pentagon unveiled a new plan to track U.S. supplied weapons, in an effort to implement accountability for the billions of dollars worth of arms and ammunition transferred to Ukraine forces since near the start of the war 8 months ago. A small number of U.S. military forces inside Ukraine have recently begun doing on-site inspections to ensure that the Ukrainian troops are properly accounting for the Western-provided weapons they receive, a senior U.S. defense official told Pentagon reporters Monday, the Associated Press and Washington Post reporting revealed.
Okay, so my question is then,
Washington Post. The U.S. races to track American arms in heat. So now we know that...
So they're like the arms inspectors in Iraq, looking for WMDs.
And I'm not going to pay for this shit, so...
Yeah, nobody pays for... Well, somebody pays for it, not us.
Yeah, definitely not me.
Huh.
But yeah, no, it's an official story. So it's interesting because I know that we were told that volunteers were allowed to go to Ukraine and fight that war if they wanted to, but they were volunteers. If they got captured, that was their responsibility. Whether it was from Russia or whatever, they would have to find their own way back. Now we're finding out that U.S. troops are actually on the ground in Ukraine as inspecting weapons from all the billions of dollars we sent Ukraine. That means that we are involved actively in a war.
Now, is there a specific number of troops that are currently there?
What was that UN weapons inspector's name? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty much... That sounds to me it's like not like we're actively in the war. We sent inspectors there to make sure that our investment is being used the way it said it was going to be used. Like, why do you need 1 million more rifles? You got 50 million sitting right here,
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. All I know is having boots on the ground is just going to escalate things for sure. I mean,
Hans Blix. His name was Hans Blix. So we sent a bunch of Hans Blixes over there. Was Hans Blix and the UN weapons inspectors boots on the ground for the UN when they went?
I don't know. All I know is having the U.S. military there at all is not good for escalation purposes for sure. I mean, having any U.S. actual personnel there is not. It just sounds like
not
escalation.
Yeah,
it just sounds like escalation to me. I mean, it's stupid. We're spending so much money on this in the first place. I mean, I have sympathy and empathy for the Ukrainian people, for sure. I do. I also have sympathy and empathy for the Russian people that are stuck in the middle of this crap. But the amount of money that the U.S. so far has spent on this is astronomical.
Ludicrous. And we're in a quote-unquote redefined recession, and everything's going up and everything's getting scarce. And
now that's fake news. Fake news. Because they changed the definition of recession.
Oh, Dan says they're owned by China.
China.
So that also leads us to our next segue, that the U.S. calls for expulsion of Iran from the UN panel on women. So Iran's membership is an ugly stain on the UN commissions.
This is MSNBC News
yeah, MSNBC
or NBC News. Okay.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we, have a shout out to
credible sources.
our credible
so
sources.
that way people can get their left and right all sorted.
So far, it's been mostly left.
Yep. And said U.S. diplomat Linda Thomas Greenfield. So I'm not sure for those of you that know that Iran has currently been in, what are they called? Up in arms, so to speak, because of a civil police officer killed a woman in Iran. And now, from what I've seen too, was that they're talking about using weapons against another country to distract from the current uprising in that country. And I'll see if I can find that article too, because I just seen it yesterday.
Other countries do false flags?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not just us, huh?
It's not just us.
Holy
apparently.
shit. You learn something every day, guys.
Hey,
I
shout
the
out
only
to the
one
First Amendment that we get to do this.
For now.
For now.
Just don't talk about the
We'll
Jews.
see how long until YouTube nukes us for telling, the truth.
Hey, these are all fact-based news resources here.
MSLSD. Yeah, we're allowed to do this as long as we don't talk bad about the Jews. Remember, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're already on a slippery slope there.
Well, might as well go all the way, right? If you're going to crash the car correctly.
Yeah.
So it's totaled and the insurance pays for it.
It's veering off. Well, hey, at least, Kanye, they set up a GoFundMe for Kanye to get some of his money back.
I donated.
Did you?
No.
I
mean, I thought about it because he went all crazy and talked about the people we are not allowed to speak about, but,
I think it's nuts that there's a GoFundMe set up for a guy that still is worth $600 million.
Did you see the story about the guy who burned like the $3,000 Yeezys because fucking one, who pays $3,000 for a pair of shoes, and then two, because he said some mean and hurtful things that you thought maybe mean and hurtful or didn't go with your ideals or whatever.
Apparently, we're segueing into a question from the audience. How was the Grand Canyon formed?
It was cut out by the Colorado River over time.
I'm going to say aliens. Why not?
When the ice caps melted about 13, 14,000 years ago, there was massive floods all over the North American continent, and that water had to go somewhere.
Well,
is there somewhere you're going with this, Dan, or are we just asking this question?
Well, the other thing too is Euphrates
I
River.
think it may be a joke. I dropped a penny down a crack.
All right, so we have two articles on Iran. So Iran is preparing to send additional weapons, including ballistic missiles, to Russia to use in Ukraine. And then we also have another one. That's by CNN, by the way. And then this one here is by Al-Talayar. I don't know how you pronounce it. Al-Talayar. Iran attacks Iraqi Kurdistan to distract attention from Masha Amini protests.
Can I just say that guy has a fucking amazing beard? That is a beard among men.
His hat looks warm. I mean, I'm freezing. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cold in the studio today, folks. That's why you see us all bundled up.
Yeah, so this one right here talks about trying to distract attention from the murder of Masha Amini.
Snack bar.
This seems to be the Iranian regime's new strategy in the face of the protests that are seeking the entire Islamic Republic, and which have received the support of Western powers. Now the regime of Abraham Raisi intends to control the agenda by attacking Iraqi Kurdistan. So far, according to the Iraqi Kurdistan Ministry of Health, at least 5 people have been killed and some 30 injured in drone and missile bombings attributed to Iran in the Kurdistan region of Iraq for supporting protests in the Persian County over the death of Masha Amini, the 22-year-old woman who was arrested for wearing the veil incorrectly.
So the name's Ibrahim. And isn't it crazy how they hate each other? The Muslims and the Jews hate each other, but they share a lot of the same names.
I think they come from some of the same backgrounds. I know that they were definitely around back in biblical times. So, and then the other one too was by CNN politics, Iran is preparing to send additional weapons, including ballistic missiles, to Russia to use in Ukraine, Western officials say. So, Iran is preparing to send approximately 1,000 additional weapons, including surface-to-surface, short-range ballistic missiles, and more attack drones to Russia to use because the Crimea Bridge, they said that there were Iranians that were actually piloting these drones from Crimea Bridge over to Ukraine. And Ukraine happened to have, what do they call these? These IR guns or whatever you want to call them that were shooting down a lot of these drones.
Yeah, to stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I first heard of it. But this is actually a part of the story of that this is actually true and that Iran is sending troops and missiles to Russia currently. To Russia to use in war against Ukraine. Officials from a Western country that closely monitors Iran's weapons program told CNN. The shipment is being closely monitored because it would be the first instance of Iran sending advanced precision-guided missiles to Russia, which could give the Kremlin a substantial boost on the battlefield. The last shipment of weapons from Iran to Russia included about 450 drones, officials said, which the Russians have already used to deadly effect in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials said last week that they have shot down more than 300 Iranian drones.
Could you imagine being one of these Russian soldiers that's opening up one of those drones and it says on the box, "Made in Iran"? They're like, "Why the fuck can we get it from China?"
Well, it probably does say made in China or Taiwan, one of the two.
Yeah, I don't know that Iran actually has its own
The Clinton News Network.
its
lies,
own
lies.
drone department for manufacturing.
Well, and this is just a benefactor too, Dan, because a lot of people say that we're biased and we're right, Republicans or whatever. So a lot of this information is coming from left-leaning articles, so that way it shows that we are unbiased and we're willing to look at both sides of the argument here. And just for facts that matter, we're all independents here. We might lean a little bit to the right because we believe in,
The right to bear arms.
Liberty. Truth.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too.
The biggest one, because if freedom of speech doesn't work, then what's the Second Amendment?
The right to bear arms.
There you go.
You can't have the first without the second.
You can't
I
have the
have the
second without
right
the
to
first.
talk shit to you before I shoot you.
That's right. So, yeah, but I mean, a lot of these, in order for them to not seem like they're Republican-leaning articles to smear Democrats constantly, this kind of gives more of a fair shake in all things, regarding politics or even, electronics or, the EV markets and all that kind of stuff that's coming up. So that way we can all get, a general consensus of what we're talking about here from both sides and come up with like, there's this CNN article that says, Iran's sending weapons, which is weird because they would say, no, they're not sending weapons at all. But in this case here, the Western countries, which I'm assuming they're talking about the United States, is completely against Iran sending weapons to Russia, and they're against Iran using missiles or drone strikes against Iraq to quell the riots that are happening because of this woman who got shot or killed or whatever.
Are you claiming that CNN is bullshit? Is that what that comment means?
Yep, absolutely.
That seems like a hefty thought there, for sure. I think a lot of Americans forget that the First Amendment here is really special.
We're one of the few countries.
We are one of the few countries that actually have the right to speak against, authoritarians, dictatorships, and things that we think are wrong. And a lot of Americans take that for granted. And I don't know how many people actually follow what goes on in the world, but we're one of the few countries that actually have that. And so,
we
when
can
you look
scream it out at football games. Fuck Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at Iran, you look at Iraq, you look at the Middle Eastern countries, you look at a lot of other countries in the world that any dissenting opinion is met with death. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Iran doesn't want to have protests. They don't want to have anything going against their narrative. So instead of having to go through, judicial branches or try to shut people up through social media, they'll just kill you. And
Go to North Korea and scream, fuck Kim Jong-un.
yeah, exactly.
See what the fuck
yeah,
happens.
it's not going to happen. And I wish, the American people would realize that it's a very special thing that we do have.
And shouldn't be censored by the government and big tech. And
Yeah,
be
exactly.
colluded behind back doors saying this is fact, but this is not what we want them to hear because they're too stupid to make sense of it, or it will sway election, or it will sway choice.
Well, you're right, Dan, that there is a lot of the silencing of dissenting opinions. I think that a lot of people are waking up finally. I think with the things that have been happening in the last couple years have really started to open people's eyes, or at least that's my hope.
And more or less recently too, with prices going up, inflation, and with this diesel shortage on the rise, I'm pretty sure when I've already started to notice, like my 2 local Walmarts are running out of produce, empty shelves.
Yeah.
And they're not restocking it. And this has been a month already that I've kept an eye on this specific shelf. As their shit starts getting lower, there is nothing to put back there.
They had
And
no onion rings today at fucking Burger
I'm
King.
talking about fresh produce, man.
I'm talking about onion rings, man. They had no onion rings at Burger King. That's
Anarchy! Anarchy! there's no onion rings.
wrong.
The system's going to shit.
That's it. The system's gone to shit. There's no onion rings. I'm pissed.
But that comes back to sustainability. I mean, I think it all circles back to the fact.
have your own damn onion rings.
No, it's not even that. Is that
It's
we've
winter.
gotten used to the luxuries of having things, and people are waking up now that they're running out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Your luxuries are slowly just eroding away, and people are going, "What the fuck is going on here?"
I had a conversation with Stefan on the way to the river this morning, and he was like, look at a lot of those other countries when COVID hit, right? They were, oh, well, here in Sweden, we do what the government says, and we don't question, and here in
It
Spain.
was a fantastic Swedish
Oh,
accent.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, here in Deutschland, we do not we only listen to the government. Well, that was probably something.
You
Wow.
definitely sound like a Führer.
You should
Yeah.
just not do that.
I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Anyways, so all these other countries are like,
Klaus
yes,
Schwab.
Papa government, don't tell us what to do, right? There were people here in America because we gotta have hard heads, but 2, we have the right to say, well, I don't think that's right. There was a lot of this population was like, well, really? Is this really we were allowed to question it,
You will own nothing, and you
I
will
like
be
it.
happy.
You will be happy.
Yes,
You will be happy.
exactly.
Do not be distracted by my Austin Powers.
I don't know. I feel like America would be the last one to go down for sure, because we have the First and Second Amendment.
And we have
America would be the last one to go down because, as Americans, I don't know if you guys have noticed, we always question. For the most part, Americans question everything, or at least they do now.
Why 7,000 IRS agents? So they can get that money, dude.
87,000 IRS agents, by the way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how many billionaires exist? How many millionaires are in the United States currently? I guarantee you it's not going to be 87,000.
It's not 87,000. They're not here for the millionaires.
They're
So-
not here for the people who have more money to be able to hide their money. They're here for us. And there is 347 million of us.
Yeah.
So do the math there. And as long as we stand together at arm's length or whatever, I don't think that we'll have a problem standing our ground to be heard.
You think any of us are qualified to be one of those IRS agents?
No.
I wouldn't want to be.
Well, I mean,
I'd
you can
definitely.
either be the one being kicked by the boot or the one wearing the boot, right?
I'd rather be the one shooting the boot.
Well, they're buying them a bunch of guns too, so they're shooting back.
Well, that may be true, but I've got a family to protect, and I
Well, what
definitely
if
don't
that-
want to be stomping on my neighbor's ground and saying, "Hey, man, I hate
What
to
if
be
they were
here,
going to
but
pay $150,000 a year to do it?
I wouldn't give a fuck if they were paying me $150,000 to suck a dick." So
JD has ideals, ladies and gentlemen. He will.
I have
Die on that hill.
morals. I have morals is to protect the the United States, foreign and domestic. It does not matter if you're an IRS agent or someone else. If you're trying to infringe on my rights or my friends' or family's rights, it is no different than being active military.
So what's your number that you would suck a dick at?
I wouldn't suck a dick.
I'm sure there's some number. Be like,
No.
well, that's a lot of money, and
Nope.
How
It's
much
not,
would it cost for you to take a shot in the mouth?
it's not worth it to me. How much would it cost you to take a shot in the mouth? I heard you
Fuck.
like it.
Let me think here.
It's
Are-
just
are we-
like chew spit, isn't it?
Oh, bleh.
All nice and warm and
we should-
creamy.
We should have known this was gonna
A
come
little
back.
grainy.
Fucking assholes.
Sperm are super strong and healthy.
It's a little salty.
Dude, so on Mondays we got to clean the shop, and I went and I dumped the garbage can out, and it smelled all wintergreen, and I puked. I seriously fucking puked because it was. It was. I can't. They were.
So Dan says, I swore an oath. So did they, but they don't honor it.
They
Yep.
put so many spitters in the trash can. It was. Oh, gross! I can't believe I'm reliving it. I dumped out the trash.
Justin, you're gonna have to start chewing
And
just
I
during
smell-
the podcast.
I literally smelt the wintergreen, and I was like, "Oh God,
I know. Brian used to chew. Maybe we'll get him on here and have him start chewing again.
no, please." Ugh, fucking A.
Just watch him gut it right in front of you.
I mean,
It's me this time.
what the fuck? I'm surrounded by imbeciles.
I burped so many times on the last podcast, and every time I shouted you out. Every single time. I was like, that one was for Nate.
All right, so let's read this one here. We learned this not too long ago. So judges tosses New York COVID vaccine mandate, orders fired city workers back pay.
I agree, Dan. Bleh.
Right? So we were just talking about that. Anybody who questions the narrative, right?
I don't know.
ends
Is
up-
the New York Post, is that like right leaning?
Well, every single other article, which is, I'm looking at, 8 here, have been all left-leaning. So I'm pretty sure one right-leaning article here is not going to be any different.
You're in danger.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You're in danger of being biased.
There's certain pasta Fallujah that'll say, well, that's wrong because that one's.
It doesn't matter.
York
There's
Post.
fucking look. There's 1, 2, 3,
That guy.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Come on, everybody. 10, 11, 12, 13 left-leaning fucking articles here. So you can suck a fat one if you have an issue with one right-leaning article. Judges.
It's okay.
Judge
They've all
tosses-
been talking about it. So it's
Yeah,
not
Judge tosses New York COVID vaccine mandate, orders fired city workers back pay. So these are the people who went against the narrative, decided that they didn't want to listen to the authority. They lost everything, including probably relationships, their jobs, their pensions, their 401ks, all for not wanting to get a shot. And I remember during the riots with women choices, and this is where the heated debate is going to start, where women were talking about abortions, my body, my choice. Well, when it came to vaccine, it was our body, our choice. And if you don't get the vaccine, stay the fuck away from me. Your kids can't come. You can't come to my party. You can't show up to work. You can't go into the grocery store. You can't go to the restaurants. It was complete segregation. And whether or not this was segregation based on your color, this was segregation based on your beliefs.
I was with you, buddy. I pushed that one out, though.
And the best thing about
It wasn't
these
organic.
people who stood their ground is that they are getting back pay from the time that they lost as they were employees from the employer that they were fired at or let go of. And we're talking about doctors, nurses, surgeons, medical professionals like firefighters, as well as EMTs, law enforcement, a lot of the people who are important members of our society that keep things safe. I mean, how many officers did we lose in Seattle alone? 330 officers because they refused to get the vaccine or they were fired for some kind of belief?
Yeah,
No, it wasn't just that though. I mean, a lot of them walked off the job
Yeah.
because of all the rioting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
They
like,
just weren't going to
fuck.
be a part of it.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I mean, it's still like that now. I'm assuming that police officers can't even do their jobs. So
Well, and I know Pierce County Sheriff's Department has even gotten to a $15,000 sign-on bonus
for lateral transfers,
No, just a sign-on bonus to become a sheriff because they're such short-staffed. And we're seeing people from Enumclaw, as far as Enumclaw Police, over in the Pierce County Territory because of how short-staffed it is here.
Yeah, it's getting bad.
Puyallup lowered their standards to hire officers. You no longer have to have a criminal justice degree.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know you had to have a degree to be a police officer.
You had to have 2 year a bachelor's in criminal justice at least.
Huh. Interesting.
They got rid of that.
I mean, most of it's going to be on the job training anyway, because if you can pass your academy and you can pass your test, which is learning RCW or learning your codes or whatever, your WAC codes, then I'm pretty sure that you, just as well as anybody else who's wanting to do the research and fill the job space and to become an important part of society to try to keep your neighbors safe, deserve the job versus someone with a 2-year degree. And, that goes to say that a lot of people who pay for college and universities don't end up doing, or going into the field that they study for, like anthropology or psychology or stuff like that.
Or
They end up
women's
at
studies?
they end up, at a department store, they end up at a coffee stand or, whatever it is. There's only, like, for example, there was one story that I heard of. There was a stripper, and she was using the money from her pay that she got as a stripper to pay as to be a brain surgeon. And she finished her schooling through stripping, and she was able to become a brain surgeon from doing that. So a lot of people don't actually have to earn a normal job, so to speak, right away. They can work their way up to it or figure out how to get the money to be able to go to the schooling. And sometimes jobs require schooling to be able to do that. Sometimes jobs don't. At this point now, most people uneducated are a lot smarter than people that are educated because it depends on what field that they were educated in.
Or what school they went to.
Or
or school.
experience. too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have on the job experience, you're going to be a lot more qualified than someone who went to school for something that wasn't related to your field just because they have an AA degree or a bachelor's or a master's or something like that. If you study gynecology but yet you want to be a fucking a CEO at Walmart, I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, it might.
Well, yeah, actually, it might. But unless you're checking the cameras at security looking for, crabs or something like that, I don't think you're really going to fit in too well.
Again, have you seen the CEO of Walmart?
I don't go to Seattle to go to Walmart. That's for damn sure. Yeah, so let's see. More than 1,750 workers were fired for refusing to get vaccinated, including 36 members of the NYPD and more than 950 Department of Education employees. So now you have your educational system that's crippled. In this 13-page rule, Porzio, whatever, I don't know how you pronounce his name, said then City Health Commissioner David Chotschke's October 20th, 2021 order violates the separation of powers doctrine enshrined in the state's constitution. So this became a state constitution issue where, it wouldn't apply directly to Washington State unless they had that listed in their state constitution, because there's your main constitution, which is for the entire United States, and then each state has their own defined constitution that's cherry picked from the main constitution, what they want in, within their cities and suburban areas. So they got lucky on the protection rights of their state constitution. Now, I don't know how that would apply here and what our state constitution is, because I only pay attention to the one that we were given, which is our
And nowhere in the
25th.
United States Constitution does it say the states can have their own constitutions either.
Nope.
Why do we all have one?
That's a good question. Why do we have a federal law enforcement?
That's a pretty good question, JD.
Because what was the age-old debate about the Civil War? Well, what's the flag that's banned?
Oh, yeah. Old Whistling Dixie.
And what is that? What flag is that
The
tied to?
Confederate flag.
Confederate flag?
The Confederate States.
Confederate means that they're against the Federation?
Yeah.
I wonder why they were against the Federation. What was the Federation up to? And what party was the Federation?
The Union.
And what was the Union? Were they Democrat? Were they Republican? Were they Republican Democrat or Democratic Republic or whatever?
I don't know. There's like four of them back
I don't know
then.
specifically.
There was the Green Party, the Tea Party, the Independent Party, and the Democratic Republic, I believe. And I know that the Democratic Republic split off because they didn't like the way that the Democratic part of the party would, more or less be authoritarian. Yes, Lincoln was the first Republican Party, and he actually started that the day the Emancipation Proclamation was announced. That's when the Republican Party was born.
Oh yeah, there were the Whigs too. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
back when shit
the Whig
worked,
Party.
when you didn't just have had to choose between the shiniest of two turds.
I wouldn't necessarily say when shit worked. I would say when forced labor was a thing, more or less.
Well,
Because, everybody who had forced labor was not working, and everybody who was forced to work was working. And that's the sad thing about this country is that, most people don't realize that a lot of things that are built in the United States were born based on, or were built based with slaves. A lot of the Capitol buildings, they say, were built with slave labor, like a lot of the really nice structures and stuff like that, which means that a lot of the slaves were actually really intelligent.
skilled workers.
Absolutely. Masons. And now you see a lot of these secret societies like the Masonic lodges and the Templars and, the Skull and Bones or whatever. You hear about these things, especially a lot of the secret societies in like National Treasure, whatever, which I believe was mainly Masonic. But, my great-grandfather was Masonic. He was part of a lodge down there in California, but he was also a Knights Templar. And if you look at the Masonic Guild, it actually is ascending. It means that once you get to your master rank or your 33rd rank, then you can go into your other ranks of like Knights Templar, and then there's another rank on that, and then you start going into your supreme rankings, which are presidential societies almost, like Skull and Bones and whatever. But they all are like frats that work with each other. Everybody knows each other, and it doesn't matter what lodge you're from. You can go to another lodge, like a, kind of like a clubhouse.
What level do you have to reach when they tell you what the back of the dollar really means?
I'm pretty sure that's 33.
You heard it here first. You heard it here, folks.
Well, most of your secrets are at your 33rd ranking, and when you get to the highest ranking you possibly can off the Masonic Lodge, that's when a lot of the secrets are trusted with you because you've fulfilled every other duty. So when you pass your final test of ascension, to go into your, you can stay as a 33rd master.
He said duty.
Or you can...
Okay, Beavis.
Or you can go into your other whatever rankings there is, like the Knights Templar or something like that, which are even more secret than just Masonic. You don't see Templar. What do they call those?
Well, somebody obviously
lodges.
wasn't trustworthy with the secrets because you know all this shit.
Well, I know this because it's passed down from family and doing a lot of research based on it. I talk to a lot of Masons as it is, and the cool thing is that a lot of the Masons are very resourceful. Means that if you were to decide to be like a Mason or something like that, you go in there and say you're not necessarily well off, but you were stable, right? And you had a good mind on your shoulders and you're willing to learn or being molded or, so to speak, groomed, then they would actually help you get a job in something that was Mason approved, so to speak. I mean, just imagine how many Masons are in some of the biggest companies in the world, right? Because they're controllable. They can tell you, hey, this isn't doing what we need it to do. I need you to do this. So, I don't know.
Yeah, Dan, the all-seeing eye.
How you got that on here from your cell phone, I have no idea. I don't even have that fucking icon on my phone. Yeah, so what's a new segue you'd like to talk about? I mean, we could talk about Kanye's fan fest of
Kanye's OnlyFans?
GoFundMe. And they said that it was more or less a
joke?
Kind of like a joke or a dig or something like that at Kanye West, so to speak. Not more or less a what the fuck happened to my article here? Okay, well, here it is. that it was more or less a joke at it to get a billionaire or whatever. It says it hasn't been long since Kanye reported lost his billion-dollar status, and already some fans are going the extra mile to restore West's net worth. Billionaire status, as Afrotech previously reported, this is Yahoo News, by the way, reported the Yeezy founder's severed ties with Adidas led his net worth to fall to $400 million, according to Forbes. Yet,
Man, it's got to be rough. That's got to be rough to go down to
$400 million.
400 million. I mean, I don't know how he's going to make it. Honestly.
I don't either.
You know, and you got to imagine, I don't know if he's got a big house or, you know, like big cars, rock star, you know how the song goes. But I don't know if he's got all those extra payments and shit that he's got coming out because he thought that he would be comfortable forever. But I know that when you lose $1 billion, $1 million seems like a lot at that point. You know, because to me, you know, not being super wealthy and still being in the, I don't know, the double digits, I would say.
No, you're still
you know,
poor.
Still under 100,000.
Yeah.
You know,
You're poor.
The 5 digits, whatever.
We're all
$1,000
poor.
to spend is a lot of money to me because that's, you know, a car payment or a house payment or rent or something like that more important. If I was a millionaire or even a billionaire, you know, like all that shit would be candy. You know, just be passing that out or making new ideas.
How
like
many
Elon
snow
Musk.
crabs will $400,000 or $400 million buy?
2.
Yeah.
It'll buy you 2.
2 snow crabs.
2 snow crabs.
Says, yes, it appears some Steadfast fans are looking to create a redemption arc for West and are using GoFundMe pages to organize their efforts. One page even made it clear that their goal was to make Kanye West a billionaire again, according to Rolling Stone. TMZ reports these efforts have been far from successful. In fact, amongst the various pages that surfaced, none raised over $25, and on average, most earned between $5 and $6. So,
Hey, it's a little bit just here and there, just
you know, and
chipping away at it.
that's kind of how much we fucking have. You know what I mean? We're not millionaires or billionaires ourselves, and I don't feel like passing out $5 because how much was your coffee this morning?
10.
And on average, we're spending roughly about 6 to, I don't know, 7 or something like that
Yeah,
without
no, it's
tip.
a coffee. I'd rather have the coffee.
My lunch at Burger
Absolutely.
King was $16 today, and I didn't even get onion rings.
Oh,
Yeah, that's definitely a
That's
kick in
a-
the dirt.
That's a goddamn shame.
it's a kick in the dick for sure.
Fuck, man.
Didn't even get my goddamn onion
Didn't even
rings.
fucking have onion rings. They're
So,
like, we don't have this and we ain't got that.
so Vibe reports Jeremy Piot was looking to save West from his financial
What's his
turmoil.
last name? Oh, it sounded like peon.
Oh, yeah, Piot was looking to save West from his financial turmoil, so he created a GoFundMe campaign titled Kanye West Out of Debt, which raised $57,398 out of $53 million goal.
Hey, they still almost reached 60 grand?
Hey, it's over 10%, that's for sure.
You know what would be the funniest thing is if it was Kanye West making all these GoFundMes.
Or is he the one donating
that
to
would
it?
be that would be the intelligent move right
Imagine this.
Who's
You-
the conspiracy theorist now?
all right, imagine this. You're Kanye West. You're losing all these endorsements. You're losing all this money. Somebody makes a GoFundMe, and you're like,
What if
how
it's-
do I get the publicity? All right, I'm going to donate $1 million to the GoFundMe, and that's going to get his name back in the news. Name in the news equals money, right?
So what instead of Kanye West, it's Elon Musk that's making all these GoFundMes?
Do 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 do.
Because Elon Musk would definitely do that.
Troll Kanye with $1 million donation. What a boss move! That would be the shit. Watch this. I am going to donate $1 million.
Hey Kanye, you're looking kind of poor.
I would
Here's
like
53 grand.
I would definitely like to see Elon Musk on the Shark Tank. That's for sure. Because I think things would be really interesting from his perspective. Because you know you're normally seeing your big tycoons, which is your millionaires or your high end millionaires like Mark Cuban or whatever, and what's his name that created Puma? I forgot his name. But you'd have Elon Musk, who's created burnt hair perfume, and he's created a
the flamethrower.
the flamethrower, which was highly successful. Both products have sold out under his other company, Boring Company, which is making tunnels underneath Las Vegas. for electric vehicles, and he says that it's so thick that the tunnels can withstand any kind of natural disaster, like a personal bunker almost.
So that's like thick with like 4 C's
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, 4
Thick.
and maybe add a Q.
Yeah. Only for you.
Boom, boom. We need a rim shot. Fucking sound effect.
I bet you need a rim shot. Ah, ha, ha. Aha.
As he shoves Smarties down his throat.
Hell yeah. America, fuck yeah. All right.
What's up, chat? Anybody actually still watching this crap?
Nah, probably not. I wouldn't be. I would have lost him at that fucking rim shot joke. That's it. I'm out of here. Fucking rim shots. What you working on there, Mike?
I'm not working on anything. I'm watching what JD's doing.
All right. So,
Oh, this fucking asshole.
Parkland school shooter, Nicholas Cruz, sentenced to life in prison. U.S. judge sentenced Cruz to life without parole for 2018 attack at Stoneman Douglas High School that killed 17 people.
Should give him a chair.
So this is a gunman who opened fire at the U.S. high school in Parkland, Florida in 2018, killing 17 and wounding 17 others. That's a weird number. Has been sentenced to life in prison without parole, capping 2 days of emotional statements from family members and victims. Where's Alex Jones in this?
Oddly quiet.
Yeah, because I would think that Alex Jones would have had something to say about this, and I believe he did say something about this.
They said they were actors.
Well, this was
No, that
this
was
a different
Sandy Hook.
shooting. Yeah,
Oh.
different shooting.
Yeah.
God, there's so many. I get them mixed up. What a world. Yeah, thank you, Dan. That's what I said. We should give him the damn chair. I don't
Mhm.
care if he's a kid. You kill that many people, you knew what the fuck you were doing. He probably
Absolutely.
tried to kill himself and couldn't do it. So let's help him with that.
In Wednesday's sentencing, which has handed down by Judge Elizabeth Shearer, was an all but foregone conclusion after a jury in October could not unanimously agree, that's weird, that 24-year-old Nicholas Cruz, who was 19 at the time of the attack, deserved the death penalty.
Thank you.
They voted 9-3 in favor of his execution, falling short of the legal requirement, instead recommending life without parole.
Those 3 people should.
While the issue has divided survivors and the family members of the victims at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Yeah,
Marjorie,
Marjorie.
Stoneman.
Marjorie. There you go. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Many told Cruz he had, like Ted Cruz, he had averted true justice in the case. Hello,
Agreed.
Pastafluja.
Oh, no.
Just in case he was watching. Just in case you're watching, buddy. It's for you. It says he has escaped his punishment because a minority of the jury was given the power to overturn the majority decision made by the people who were able to see him for what he is, a remorseless monster who deserves no mercy, says Megan Petty.
What if they let, since he's going to be spending the rest of his life in prison alive, how about every Christmas one of those family members that lost one of those 17 kids get to come in there and cut off a finger or toe? No painkillers. Is that cruel and unusual?
I mean,
in this case, I'm just favor of the death penalty. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't for the death penalty,
Drawn out pain.
but I mean, this is ridiculous. The dude killed 17 kids and
Or a
wounded
nut.
17
Thank you,
others. Just
Yeah.
why have this stain of society live on
Eating
the
3
taxpayer
meals.
dime?
Yeah, eating 3 hots in a cot. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. For the rest of his life. What, so he can think about it? He was remorseless in any of his statements. I mean, just
So long, drawn
introduce
out.
him to his God and be done with it.
Well, make him hurt first. Come on. Can we get some justice out of this instead of he gets the quick axe? Doesn't even deserve a sharp axe.
So here's another one for you. The White House
Or is
insists
that just me?
it's not using Facebook censorship portal despite Jen Psaki's flagging admission.
Oh no, it's the New York Post again. Oh no.
Watch out, New York Post. Says the White House doesn't use a secretive Facebook portal to request a removal of alleged misinformation.
Bullshit.
No, because that's not the White House job.
No, it's the FBI.
They gave it to other people. So, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
She's got the worst job in the world, doesn't she?
She does.
I miss Jen
and
Psaki.
she's not good at it
No,
either.
she's horrible.
I
not
miss Jen
good at it.
Psaki.
But
Yeah,
could you
absolutely.
imagine? It's your job to get up there every day and for like 20 or 20 journalists and be like, this is bullshit. We all know this is bullshit, but this is why it's not bullshit. And I don't even got a great answer, but I'm going to talk you round and round in circles until you fucking die of boredom.
Yeah, exactly.
So apparently it says right here, when asked about a bombshell report laying out how the government officials get
And Dan,
tech
that's
firms
the,
to squelch
Washington
That's the
Post.
Washington Post that Bezos owns.
online speech, despite her predecessor Jen Psaki saying last year that the White House was flagging Facebook posts it did not like. When pressed by the Post, Jean-Pierre said firmly that no, the White House does not use the recently exposed portal to request the removal of Facebook or Instagram posts.
No, the White House doesn't.
Nope. The Intercept on Monday revealed the existence of the portal Facebook.com X takedowns, through which users with a government or law enforcement email address can submit content for deletion. The revelation prompted outrage from the civil libertarians,
Us.
who said the mechanism violated the spirit, if not the letter, of the First Amendment's guarantee of freedom of speech.
I agree 100%.
And that also means that when Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg were having that podcast there, that he says that they approached him, they mentioned that this would be this, and they suggested that we take it down because it was fake news. Well, that means that they were able to directly go into Facebook themselves and do it themselves.
We did not do any of that. We didn't go along with what they said. I am
So,
a robot.
That's pretty interesting
Do you
stuff
want to
there.
join the metaverse?
Apparently that one's coming up to bite him in the ass too, because it says right here, investors reportedly disgruntled as Facebook stock down 70%, company out $800 billion in market cap.
Ow.
Yeah, I would click on that and see that article.
Ouch.
Just the
Ouch.
News states investors reportedly disgruntled as Facebook stock down 70%, company out of $800 billion in market cap.
When was this posted?
And this was posted, let's see,
You went, I don't see.
right here, November 2nd at
Okay.
12:09 p.m. this afternoon.
Well, that's today.
This afternoon. It says, the investors in Facebook parent company Meta are reportedly growing dissatisfied with the company's fixation on the metaverse as the corporation's stock continues to plunge and its market capitalization continues a long slide.
It certainly has nothing to do with the fact that they have a backdoor for the government to shut down the First Amendment.
Oh,
I'm sure.
absolutely. Or the fact that several girls on the metaverse had already had their animated characters raped
Oh,
on metaverse.
what?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Yep.
You didn't see that coming, Zuckerberg? Come on, people are going to act a fool.
So it says right
Jesus, I
here,
could've
the
told
company
them
has
that.
seen a stock plummet through 2022, shedding more than 70% of its value. Thanks, ads. Gosh, man, I hate ads. Of its value from the start of the year, as it fell from over $330 per share in January to nearly $90 per share this week.
It's time to invest in Meta. If you're going to do it right now.
Yep. The company's market cap has also plunged from its high last year, dropping from just over $1 trillion in August of 2021 to $250 billion in November. That is a huge fucking drop. I mean, that's worse than Kanye.
Yeah, I mean
That's gotta fucking hurt to suck.
yeah, that's 70% of their
Absolutely.
wealth gone.
It says investors, meanwhile, are reportedly to be unhappy with the company's business direction, specifically founder Mark Zuckerberg's fixation on the virtual reality metaverse, a project that has generated relatively little excitement outside of esoteric tech circles. Jim Tierney, an investment officer for Meta shareholder Alliance Bernstein, told the Financial Times that had any other company plowed so much money into a strategically dubious project, you'd have activist investors writing letters proposing alternatives, slates of directors demanding change. That's crazy.
What if it came out in the end that Zuckerberg was out there virtually raping people? It was all him. That's why he wants the metaverse so bad.
And this is just a statement here. We don't think that Mark Zuckerberg is doing those things, but that would be a crazy thing to have happened.
That would be a
for
conspiracy theory.
Simple material could scrub carbon dioxide from power plant smokestacks. Oh, yeah. I remember them talking about the energy source of being able to use power from carbon from smokestacks to be able to use as renewable energy. And that would basically collect a lot of the carbon that's going into the oxygen and to be able to reuse that for clean burning fuel.
Yeah, you're talking about what the hell is that? Ian Crossland on Tim Pool show. He's always talking about it. It's
Tim Pool. Oh no, was it Tim Pool that just got banned from YouTube?
I don't think so.
Pretty sure.
I just listened to him today.
Well, that was yesterday's show though.
well, I don't know.
Graphene. It's what it's called.
Graphene. There you go.
Yeah.
It says, how can we remove carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, from fossil fuel power plant exhaust before it ever reaches the atmosphere? New findings suggest a promising answer lies in a simple, economical, and potentially reusable material analyzed on the National Institute of Standards and Technology, where scientists from several institutions have determined why the material works as well as it does. The team's object of study is aluminum formate, one of a class of substance called metal organic frameworks, MOFs. As a group, MOFs have exhibited great potential for filtering and separating organic materials. Often the various hydrocarbons in fossil fuels from one another. Some MOFs have shown promise at refining natural gas or separating the octane components of gasoline. Others might contribute to inducing the cost of plastics manufacturing or cheaply converting one substance to another. Their capacity to perform such separations comes from their inherently porous nature. So this is a different form than graphene, but aluminum.
Well, they're saying that they're using aluminum to extract it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because aluminum is so porous in nature. So I think that's what it's alluding to.
Oh, okay.
If you're in the chat, say hi.
Yeah, if you're in the chat, give us a hello.
Hello. What's up?
We're actually going to be wrapping up the show soon. We've been on for going on 2 hours now. So I think this is a good time to say, if you're interested in being on the show, let us know. You can email us at lackofthoughtpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can send us hate mail or whatever.
Hello, Wicked.
What's up, Wicked?
What's up, Wicked?
We try to do at least a show a week. We're trying to do it on the weekends. Unfortunately, Nate over here works on the weekends. So if you have any questions, you want to be on the show, you want to hang out.
Oh, shit.
Oh, it's Tina. What up, Tina?
What's going on, Tina?
What up, Tina?
Hi, babe.
He sounded so happy when he... But yeah, this is
Hi, Dan.
Hi. This is a show that we want to be driven by the chat. You know, we want people to be a part of the conversation. I think it's really important to our culture as Americans to have, differing views and be able to hear everybody's voice. So Again, if you're interested in being on the show, let us know. Send us an email. On that note, I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm Mike.
I'm Nate.
Oh, here. Let me.
Wait. Yeah, I'm Nate. Well, we all know who I am. I'm Nate.
And I'm JD.
It's been awesome to have everyone here. Hopefully things technology-wise on our end progress.
I think it's looking good, man.
I think it's coming out pretty good, yeah. I think it looks all right. So we're still working on it. It's a work in progress. But
I noticed you took the music out.
I did take the music out. I'm still working on getting that back. So,
Well,
and
How do you guys all like the fact that we can now add graphics? You know, like
and
Pull up
articles.
articles. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's actually a pretty cool little feature there. I like that.
you know, and I don't necessarily mind that there's no picture in picture. I think that it's nice to be able to get a full screen of the web page there. You know, we can always add some more things. You know, just add some comments there and see what you think.
No, the music sucked. Yeah, but it did break up the monotony when nobody was talking. So
Well, Mike, you can always write our music for us because none of us have time to do that.
Great addition.
'cause I do.
Thank you, Wicked. How's your health there, Wicked? You doing okay? We know you weren't feeling too well a couple weeks ago. You were in the hospital and stuff like that. We're just hoping that you were on the mend,
or at least go in the right direction.
yeah,
For sure.
or at least go in the right direction. And we really wish you the best there, bud.
We're gonna have to get Wicked on the podcast when he's feeling up to it.
Yes, sir. I'm good now. I'll be out on Sunday. Well, congratulations, sir. We certainly wish you the best.
So check out these. Let's see. There's 2 articles here. Oh wait, is that the same article? Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say because it says there was another article that said that China just put a rocket up there for the space station or something like that, and they dropped something out of space. And there was another article that I read that said that Chinese failed rocket is now hurling out of control back to Earth. And it's the same article.
I saw a cool article. They just found a huge asteroid coming out of the glare of the sun that's in Earth's orbit. That's a planet killer.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was talking about last week's podcast.
Well, screw you guys.
It's supposed to be within what couple 100 million miles from the Earth. We'll be
Yeah.
able to see it if it's not cloudy. But yeah, it's supposed to be massive.
Yeah.
Definitely one of those things to land one of the because Wicked was talking about this last week too, that we're apparently launching kind of like robots into space
To clean
to
up
be
the
able to
trash,
clean up a
yeah.
lot of the trash and satellites and aluminum and all the metals that are out there.
I know they currently track like almost or like 250 million individual objects in space that are man-made, from
Ye-
as little as a bolt to as big as SRBs and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were talking about that too, and we ended up leading into the other segue about how they said that, you know, because we had horse and buggy at the time, that there would be so much shit on the ground that it'd be unlivable, and then, you know, the first car was built. And that reminds me too, because Mike and I had this conversation when we were on the way to work, real quick before we head out, was that, do you know why? Do you know how far the rail trusses are separated from each other, from one rail to the other?
It goes back to the Roman chariots.
And why is that? Why? So what is relevant with that story there?
That stuff never changes.
Well,
It's the rut in the road.
no. So the initial point of that story there. So for those of you that haven't heard it, it's 4 feet and 8.5 inches from one rail to the other rail, and the reason why that is, just like Nate was saying, was that it goes back to the Roman chariots.
Horses' asses. That's right.
That's right. And the chariots were designed, these war chariots were designed so that way they were just wide enough to be able to fit 2 horses. And there is that age-old saying, you know, I'll believe that in a horse's ass, you know, or, you know, 2 horses' ass, whatever. Well, that's where the saying came from, which is that it came from 2 horses' asses that dictated how wide our transportation system would be, from cargo, goods, and transportation would be. And the funny thing is that I believe it was England that built the first railway here in the United States.
Yeah, all the workers that built the railway were all carriage makers and stuff like that, that had from England and stuff, that had the tools and the expertise, and they had the same jigs and stuff like that. They didn't want to make new tools or new jigs, So they made the railroad lines 4.8 feet across because they had been making carriages 4.8 feet across because the ruts in the road were 4.8 feet across because those ruts in the road had been there since the Roman times, and the Romans built them 4.8 feet across for the roads that put their chariots put those ruts in the roads because 4.8 feet would hold 2 horses' asses.
Yeah, and anybody who had any other dimensions other than those 4 feet and 8.5 inches, their wheels would most likely break off or something.
Yeah.
Something would happen there. And
You had to stay in your rut or else you broke your axles.
well, and the funny thing is too, what system did they use there? The metric system.
It wasn't quite that perfect. Romans used the width of their hand and the width of a finger to measure
Oh,
stuff.
kind of like this is 7 inches or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Or the width of your forearm, because most people's forearms, hands, fingers
The size of your foot, and if you knew the size of your foot, then you know the size of your forearm. And if
Yeah.
you knew the size of your, whatever.
And then they had the imperial system, which was the emperor's hand or foot or forearm.
Yeah, which died off once the emperors died off. Because
All right.
there
And
were
it
no more
changed throughout
emperors.
time. Yes.
On that note, just remember, people,
They didn't use the emperor's dick, though.
it's okay to be a horse's ass because sometimes that lasts.
That's
On
right.
that note, I'm Mike,
I'm Nate.
And I'm JD.
and you're Nate again.
And I'm Nate again.
All right, everybody, have a good night.